The United States and Canada have long enjoyed a robust trading partnership, with billions in goods crossing their border daily. But this relationship is now under strain, as new U.S. tariffs, reviving protectionist policies, target key Canadian industries like steel, aluminum, and forestry. Canadian leaders see these tariffs as unfair, threatening the principles of free trade that have defined North American commerce. In British Columbia, the impact is immediate. Businesses face higher costs and uncertainty, especially in sectors deeply tied to U.S. markets. The new tariffs jeopardize vital economic links and force BC to reconsider its trade dependencies. This dispute is more than an economic spat, it's prompting Canada to consider strong countermeasures. British Columbia is leading the charge, implementing strategies to defend its interests. The province's actions mark a shift to a more confrontational era in U.S. Canada trade relations. The implications are far-reaching, potentially reshaping North American trade for years. As tensions escalate, both sides brace for a prolonged standoff. The era of seamless cross-border commerce is at risk. The question now is, how far each side is willing to go to protect its economic future. The stakes are high for both nations. The next moves will define the future of this critical partnership. In response to U.S. tariffs, British Columbia passed the Economic Stabilization Tariff Response Act in early 2025. This law empowers BC to impose countermeasures, most notably tolls on U.S. commercial trucks traveling through the province to Alaska. The Alaska Highway, a crucial supply route, is now a bargaining chip. The threat of tolls has alarmed Alaskan officials, highlighting BC's leverage over U.S. trade routes. The act includes a sunset clause. These measures are temporary and will be lifted if the U.S. reverses its tariffs. Premier David Eby frames the act as a way to protect BC industries and workers, leveling the playing field. The legislation is also a deterrent, signaling to Washington that BC will not accept unfair trade practices. If the U.S. backs down, BC is ready to restore normal trade. The act's message is clear. BC is prepared to defend its economy but prefers cooperation over confrontation. The hope is to pressure the U.S. back to the negotiating table. Until then, BC stands ready to act. The stakes for both sides are rising. The next phase of the dispute is about to unfold. British Columbia's response goes beyond truck tolls. The province is revising procurement policies to reduce purchases of American goods and services, shifting toward Canadian or international suppliers. This move directly impacts U.S. businesses that rely on BC government contracts. Another measure targets the beverage alcohol sector. BC may restrict or ban certain American wines and spirits, hitting U.S. producers in key states. These actions are designed to create economic pressure and encourage U.S. stakeholders to push for policy change. By diversifying its response, BC aims to maximize leverage and demonstrate resolve. The province is signaling it's prepared for a sustained trade battle. The goal remains to persuade the U.S. to abandon protectionist tariffs. BC's comprehensive approach shows it's not backing down. The message to Washington is unmistakable. Trade actions will have consequences. As the dispute deepens, both sides are digging in. The outcome will shape the region's economic future. The pressure is mounting on all fronts. Premier David Eby has become the face of BC's assertive trade response. He's made it clear, BC won't stand by while U.S. tariffs threaten its industries and jobs. Key sectors like forestry, mining, and manufacturing are at risk, and Eby's government is determined to protect them. Eby's tough stance resonates with British Columbians, projecting strength and a commitment to defending local interests. Politically, this assertiveness boosts public support and positions BC as a leader in the national response. Despite the tough measures, Eby emphasizes that dialogue is still the preferred path. The retaliatory actions are a last resort, meant to bring the U.S. back to fair negotiations. BC's response is framed as necessary defense, not aggression. The province hopes for a resolution that restores fair trade. Until then, BC is prepared to stand its ground. The stakes for the provincial economy are too high to do otherwise. The next steps will test the resolve of both sides. Alaska is uniquely exposed to BC's potential truck tolls. The state relies on highways through BC for essential goods, making the Alaska Highway a critical supply line. Any disruption or added cost would hit Alaskan consumers and businesses hard, raising prices in a state already facing high living costs. Alaskan leaders and business groups are alarmed, urging a swift resolution to avoid supply chain chaos. Alaska sees itself as collateral damage in a dispute it didn't start. The economic fallout could be severe, with higher costs and uncertainty for businesses. The situation is straining the usually cooperative relationship between BC and Alaska. While BC officials express sympathy, they insist their actions are a necessary response to U.S. policies. The regional tension adds complexity to the broader U.S. Canada trade conflict. Both sides are feeling the pressure. The outcome will have lasting effects on cross-border ties. The stakes for Alaska are immediate and real. British Columbia isn't fighting alone. Ottawa is backing the province with its own retaliatory measures. The federal government, led by Prime Minister Trudeau, has a history of targeting U.S. goods from politically sensitive states to maximize pressure. These federal actions complement BC's provincial measures, presenting a united Canadian front. Other provinces, like Ontario and the Yukon, are also voicing support and considering their own responses. This interprovincial solidarity strengthens Canada's negotiating position. Coordination between federal and provincial efforts is key, blending local initiative with national strategy. The message to Washington, Canada, is united in opposing U.S. protectionism. The current situation highlights the importance of a cohesive national response. Canada's resolve is clear. Trade actions will be met with firm resistance. The U.S. faces opposition from all corners of Canada. The pressure for a resolution is growing. The next moves will be critical for both countries. The trade dispute is escalating, with new U.S. threats targeting Canada's cruise ship industry, a vital part of BC's tourism sector. This tit-for-tat cycle risks deepening the crisis, with economic pain spreading on both sides of the border. Canadian industries beyond those initially targeted could suffer, while U.S. exporters and consumers also face higher costs. The integrated North American economy means disruptions hurt everyone. The most lasting damage may be to the U.S. Canada relationship itself, built on decades of trust and cooperation. Suspicion and antagonism are replacing partnership, threatening collaboration in other areas. Rebuilding trust will be difficult, even after the trade war ends. The era of predictable, amicable trade is under threat. BC's bold actions, backed by Canada, show a new resolve to push back against U.S. protectionism. But the cycle of retaliation is dangerous for both nations. The path forward demands careful diplomacy and a renewed commitment to fair trade. The world's largest trading partnership hangs in the balance. The next chapter will determine its fate.